Second question I got, which I think is interesting, is what's really who's using which AIs in terms of market share. And the bad news here is there's not good data. Everyone presumes that, ChatGPT is probably the most known brand amongst the big AIs. They've consistently for months now said they have about 900 million. I presume they'll have updated numbers as they get close to whenever they're planning their IPO later this year. But they're the big gorilla, obviously. But Anthropic now has come very quickly with Claude Cowork, especially, that I've talked about. And I wouldn't be surprised if they actually become more of a consumer AI company in the next few weeks and months. Given the momentum they're further ahead than their other competitors on the AI agent piece. And there are a lot of early adopters today, meaning there are maybe 5 billion people who use AI services. And if you assume even 10% or 5%, which are typically the early adopter mix, start to use these things, we're talking about very large numbers. So Anthropic will, more likely than not, be a very close competitor. And then it falls down very quickly to other options, but not that far. They're coming up very rapidly underneath is Google Gemini. I've written a lot about this as well, because Google Gemini is in Google search everywhere and on 3 billion daily searches and devices and users and so on. And so Google is a very close in the top 3 bucket that's going around the lap. And then it falls down. That's where it falls down dramatically. Then you got Meta AI. I wrote about them in a post earlier this week as well with their new Muse Spark system. They have access to over 3.5 billion people who use Instagram and WhatsApp and Facebook and Messenger. And so they have access to Meta AI. And as I said, Muse Spark looks like it'll probably be good enough for everyone to use for basic chat and some eventual basic agent stuff. So they're probably going to be the next in the market share bucket. And then the last one I'll say is Grok, which is Elon Musk's XAI AI. Today, most of it is accessible primarily through X, formerly known as Twitter. Hundreds of millions of users there. People ask questions to Grok all the time, regardless of its operating methodologies, etc. But that is one thing that Elon will have to also figure out, is how to get broader distribution for Grok beyond X Twitter, and I especially to use up the tens of billions of dollars of compute that he is investing in and building and going to public with SpaceX, presumably this June. So those are the 5 biggies. There are lots of other options out there, but in terms of which are the big, who's using what AIs, that would be roughly in that order, but we don't have specific percentages on that yet.